In ALEKS, there's a topic called Inferring Properties of a Polynomial Function from its Graph. So they're going to give you a graph of a polynomial function with real coefficients. They're going to ask you a set of questions about the function, and they're telling you that all local extrema of f are shown in the graph. Local extrema are these points where your graph changes direction from increasing to decreasing, and these are maximum and minimum points. So we're talking about these points here. And what they're telling you is there's no extrema outside of this little piece of the graph. So you've got all that information here. It's not going to change direction somewhere down here. Okay, so one of the things it's talking about is increasing. It might ask if the function f is increasing over which intervals. These are going to be your x values here. So you're looking from left to right. And so you can see from negative infinity all the way down until your x value is a -7 is decreasing. Okay, so that's not an increasing interval, but this next interval from here, from an x is a -7 up until x is a -2 is increasing. Okay, so you'd click -7 to -2 as part of your answer. Okay, and then go back to your graph, and it looks like from a -2 to a +4, the function is decreasing. And then when you're for x value of 4 up to x value of 8, your graph is then increasing. So you'd click 4 to 8 as well. Okay, from 8 to infinity, your graph is decreasing. Okay, so we don't need to mark that one. Okay, so that is part A. Part B, the function f has a local minima at which x values. Okay, so that's basically, we're looking for the minimum values. And so these are these 2 points here. You can see your graph is has these minimum points. And so you're just going to give the x coordinates for those values. So we have x is a -7 and x is 4. Okay? And so that's, you're just going to put in -7, 4. That's not the point -7, 4. It's 2x values. Okay? All right, for question C and question D, we're actually going to answer these at the same time. It's asking what the sign of the leading coefficient of f is, and question D asks which of the following is the possibility for the degree of f. Choose all that apply. So let's look at what that means real quick. What is the leading coefficient and what is the degree? So here are a bunch of just pretend functions for f. And the leading coefficient is that we're talking about this value. What is the value? Is it odd? Excuse me. Is it positive or negative? Okay. And how does this value being positive or negative here affect the graph? That's one of the things we want to consider. And then the possible degree of the equation is the highest exponential power. So it has to do with the leading coefficient as well. Okay. So this one is an odd value leading coefficient. This one's even. This one's even, even, odd. And this is going to be important. So basically, even functions like x to the 8th and x to the 6th and x to the 4th, these 3 graphs right here are all even. And so they're going to look something like maybe like this W. Okay, where it is increasing, well, it's going up to the left, rising to the left, and rising to the right. Okay, or it might look like this. It's going to be, if it's falling to the left, it's also falling to the right. So even functions kind of have, they're both increasing off into infinity in the same direction, right? It's increasing, it's rising to the right, rising to the left, or falling to the left and falling to the right. So these are even. And so when I say even, I'm referring to the, the exponential power of the leading coefficient. Okay, and now the odd functions, they're going to end in the opposite direction. So one is falling to the left, the other is increasing to the right. Okay? Or it could have been rising to the left and falling to the right. Okay, so these are odd. So that's like our first and our last functions here, because this is an x to the fifth or x to the third graph. Okay? Now, that's even and odd. Now, positive and negative actually have to do with what's happening off to the right here of each of our functions. So this one is increasing over here, so this one is going to be positive. And this one's increasing, so it is positive. Okay, and over here on the right, this one's decreasing, so it is negative. And this one's decreasing, so it's negative. Its coefficient is negative, so this is what I'm talking about here. This is a negative coefficient, and this is a negative coefficient, this is a negative coefficient. Okay? So that's what we're talking about here. Positive, here's some positive leading coefficients here, these two. Okay? So let's look at our question that we had. So on this question here, what sign, what is the sign of the leading coefficient? So we look over here to the right, and it is decreasing. It's going down, so it is a negative. So we click negative here. Okay? And which of the following is a possibility for the degree of f? So it's rising to the left and falling to the right. It's opposite, so it is an odd function. So you'd click all of the odd possibilities, so 5, 7, and 9.